Hi, this is VLOG entry 134, and currently it is about 11 p.m. a.m. CST. My bad. I decided not to say good morning because I know everybody else, is watching this at different times, and we're on different time zones and all that. But I just typically said that out of habit, and I was stubborn about it. And I was like, whatever. I know it's inaccurate, but you don't always have to be rational. So I've learned that pretty quickly. I used to try to over-rationalize, and I think people tend to put too little weight on the irrationality of irrationality is a thing. I don't know who coined that, but I think that's a thing, right? Rationality of irrationality. So I like to rationalize my irrationalities by being somewhat inaccurate at times, and I don't like having to spell out all logical implications and whatnot because I already do that enough in my own head. So there's no point of having to vocalize all of it. So been doing a lot of mathy stuff as usual, and I have an interview today. It's in about 3 hours from now. About 2 hours and 40 minutes to be exact, if you guys like precision. But yeah. So yeah, 2. I could have just said it 2. But an interview at a park close to my place, and it's a part-time job, but the scaling of the salary in comparison to the job that I had before is almost exactly the same. It's part-time, but the pay scale gets scaled by 1/3, and then the hours get scaled down by 1/4. So 1/3 is obviously bigger than 1/4. That means I'm actually getting more money from this job. And actually, I'd rather go part-time, because it's covering the bills for the time being, and I actually get a surplus and all that, and maybe I won't be able to pay off my cards as quickly, so that's why I've considered getting a loan, just to kind of stifle the interest rate. So I still have to look at that kind of stuff. I don't want to the thing is, I don't want to overwork myself because I have other things that I'm focusing on, and I'd rather kind of minimize my time at work and focus on the things that actually matter to me, which is this kind of stuff. I also applied for or certified my unemployment insurance for both periods, starting from the 20th to the 4th, and now the 4th to the, what is that? The 4th to the, I can't do math right now, the 18th. So I had to do that, and I'm pretty tired today. I don't know. I've been spending just a lot of time doing research and worrying about jobs, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm juggling as of now. Having to do all this properly with the adulting, and then looking for a job, and then actually trying to balance that with my interests and some social stuff, and trying to stay in contact with people without completely cutting the thread. Can be a lot for a person like me, because I like just focusing on one thing, but so yeah, I don't know. I say I like focusing on one thing, but I've had the habit of focusing on one thing because my life was much simpler than it is now. So it's just all a part of growing up, I guess. And I should be getting my SNAP soon as well. I just submitted my last few documents for SNAPs today. It was 2 pay stubs, so two pay periods that I had to show, which is the past 30 days for my last job. I guess just as proof that I had a job. And also they wanted to see my income and all that. And I guess maybe that's a good way of weighing how much I'll be making in the future and whatnot, even though I will be updating them with when I'm getting another job. I don't know. I'm just tired. Just very tired today. I've been just again thinking about a lot of things. Too many things at once, I think, is the hardest thing. So I've been focusing on breathing more because this is what causes me to branch out so quickly, is me kind of staying ungrounded and going in all directions at once. And that can be fine to a degree, especially if you're generating new ideas, but there's a point where you have to use those ideas and buckle down and start creating a focal point of these ideas that you're generating in your mind. So I'm trying to, I guess, tie in all of my ideas together, but then this would require topology and understanding manifolds and understanding linear algebra to a degree if I want to rigorously define these abstractions in my mind. And I have to go to, so I was looking at topology today, and mainly topology. I was looking back at Noether's theorem, which is an interesting theorem from classical mechanics. And linear algebra I haven't really been doing much with because I have a good understanding of it. My dad is actually mailing me my books. I think he just mailed them today, so I should begin them in the next couple of business days. So I'm going to have like a big box just filled with technical books, just all technical stuff. It's nothing, no light read. It's the references and whatnot. It's not like anything crazy. So just light reading, or it's not light reading, but it's more for, doing references and all that. So yeah, oh man, I can't even find words right now. I should probably just rest before my interview. I don't even know what caused me to be so tired today. I think it's just the fact that I'm thinking about real life again, and this thought loop of like going back to like my responsibilities as a citizen for the United States is like, or this nation or whatever you want to, just your responsibilities as a citizen, because we live in a society, so you can't just completely close yourself off from the reality of the world. So I guess those kinds of thoughts are just tiring to think about, for me at least, because I've always been an escapist, and I can say that I've achieved a relatively good balance between my tendencies to run away into fantasy and actually facing reality head on, and it's gone much better. So it's still tiring. I think it's tiring for anybody, but yeah. If I get a job at a park, it's going to be slow and it's part-time, so I'd probably be working 5 days a week, meaning I'd be working like 5 hours every day, which is it's like half the amount of time I was working over at the, half the amount of time I was working per day over at the lakefront. But I was also working 1 day less over at the lakefront. So, yeah, I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm hoping that the schedule is going to be regular, so I can actually build a pattern outside of the volatility that did occur over at my other jobs. I'm hoping that the schedule is actually recurring as opposed to it being so unpredictable. So we'll see. Aside from that, I had my other interview that I was supposed to go to, and they still haven't contacted me. Their excuse is that they had a family emergency, this recruiter person that wanted to quote-unquote interview me, and they seemed like a legitimate person, and I don't know. They still haven't contacted me. Maybe they forgot, but I'm going to shoot them an email and just notify them about, I was like, can you at least give me an update about what's going on, so I can have a good idea of, what the status is between us, and I just can't really see there being a good reason of why they would lie. They could, I don't know. I just don't see a good reason. But people aren't necessarily the most predictable creatures, humans. Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much the update. I had a bit of a high because, again, I was in my fantasy world for a little bit, and I was enjoying, playing around with the stuff that I used to when I was younger, and it's a nice high, but also I can't do that, and it's so hard to balance these highs with a job. I don't know, when I have a job, it's so draining at times, and obviously it's because I'm dissatisfied with the job that I have, and I need to fix that, and I'm trying to find different ways to employ income outside of having a traditional job and whatnot, and I need to do research on making my life more satisfying, because I really don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I've come to the conclusion that I just don't want to do it. I want something more satisfying for a job. I thought it would have worked out, but now that I've gone through the experience, it's too draining for me, and I feel like I just wouldn't have enough time to, I don't know, really focus on the things that I find to be interesting to my life. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to, I'm just so tired. I'm sorry if I'm having trouble speaking today. I'm exhausted. So yeah, I need to find ways to gain income outside of a traditional job. I could work remotely. I've considered it. Other considerations, a library. I wouldn't work at a hospital. Now, it also depends on what this job is like. In the winter, I'm probably stationed in a little desk environment, sort of. Or at least I'd have access to a computer to enter customer. It seems like there's a big building and this is a recreational center, so maybe I would have access to this. But now that I've seen how cities function, I'm assuming it's probably not going to be that like that because I'm considered to be a park attendant. It worked in other counties that are smaller, but this city seems to be more modular and I don't know, it seems modular and segregated. It's more like you're doing this and you're doing this and there's no gray space in between it. It's just this is your job and you can't do anything outside of it. But we'll see what they say. I'm not going to say anything until I talk to them about that. I'm going to go through the interview. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a lot to say. I mean, in topology, I was just looking at compactness and connectedness in topological spaces and what they actually mean. I've heard of them, but I didn't really know the quote-unquote rigorous definition of them. Actually, I didn't even know if I had my own conception of what it was, but didn't really mean that that was actually true. But yeah, I looked at connectedness and compactness for topological spaces today. So I did something, and I did other things around that, but that was like the main thing I was looking at today. And yeah, it's pretty intuitive. I mean, the words seem to imply the definition. Like connectedness is kind of looking at a space. You can imagine, I don't know, like the real number. I just like using the real number system because I've messed with the real number system a lot. That's an example of both connected and compact space. Just because when you look at the connectedness of the real number system is that you can take two sets adjacent to each other and you don't have to use a union for them, just because they both include. So I don't know if you do like two open sets, like one goes to 0 to 1 and then one goes from 1 to 2, and you take that and you don't have to union them. You can just add them together, and they're just another set without a union having to add them together. I guess there's no empty space because they both contain those numbers. So yeah, that's what connectedness is, and compactness seems to be almost the same thing. It's just no punctures or holes. Yeah. Now, I'm going to have to look into it more because I think I may have a misconception of what they are. Because they do seem very close to each other in my mind. I was also looking at discrete and continuous symmetries. Just because Noether's theorem kind of utilizes the concept of symmetries and it finds a connection between symmetries and conservative forces, which I'll look into later. I was also looking at the Taylor series because I forgot what it was. I never had I never had a good reason to use the Taylor series. I just know what it is. But the Taylor series is just a function being represented as a polynomial. where you choose a point over at that function, and then you look at all of its derivatives, and then you match all of its derivatives to the derivative of its derivatives to the polynomial as well, and then you can express it at a point. Of course, it's going to, the higher and higher the derivative, then the more accurate it's going to be. I don't feel like explaining that intuitively. So, I mean, there are a lot of videos out there that explain it pretty well, and I'm not much of a good explainer at times, especially now. I'm just like, I actually don't feel like talking much, but I'm doing it anyways because I like doing these videos every day. Yeah. Explainer, that's not even a word, but whatever. Yeah, I was looking at connectedness, and it supposedly, I wrote down, describes whether two open, disjoint, and non-empty sets can represent a topological space. Or whether, I was looking at the wrong way, as like whether a topological space can be represented as two disjoint, open, and non-empty sets. Yeah. I just had it flipped in my head for some reason. So open, I'm sure you guys may know, but they're just limits at the edges of these sets. Like, I don't know, like if it's open sets, closed sets don't contain it, and then open sets contain that number. So like if you have an open set and you have the number 1 in it, then it's like that square bracket, like 1 to 0 or something, and it contains a square bracket. So that means these are open and they contain these numbers, whereas the other ones don't. The closed ones are asymptotically approach it, but they don't contain that number per se. Yeah. So disjoint. Yeah, I don't know. I think I had a good way of explaining it, but I forgot. I'm gonna have to look at more examples. I think the best way is to kind of look at a abstraction and look at all its a few examples, and then it kind of solidifies in your brain of what that actually means, as opposed to the abstracted definition of it. So I may just have to look at a couple examples for both of these. I didn't actually look at any. I just wrote down the description, and yeah. Yeah, I'm just so tired today, man. My brain does not want to function. I guess this is because I have my I don't think I'm bipolar. Maybe sometimes I wonder, but yeah, I'm going through a depressive episode right now. Essentially, I'm not manic. The past week and a half was my manic series of my manic period, and now I'm going through a depressive period. So I'm not sure. It's going to be hard to kind of like look at these things when I'm like this. So because my brain doesn't want to function right now. It's like you can't even. It's hard for me to force it to function when it's like this. So, and I say it's burnout, but I think it's not. It wasn't really. This wasn't really induced due to me not controlling my brain when it was going through the manic episodes. I don't like to sound like a victim, but I mean, like, these manic episodes tend to just happen, and I don't, like, I could do breathing exercises and whatnot to calm myself down, so maybe I've been practicing doing breathing exercises, but it still happens to go back to its manic baseline, and it doesn't, I mean, there are probably medications for this kind of stuff too, but I'd have to talk to a doctor for that, and yeah, so, but yeah, I think I'm going to at least look at connectedness and compactness and do a few more examples on that, and after that I'm probably just going to call it a day, most likely, unless I feel inspired to do something else, which may happen. I mean, it would depend on what I'm thinking about, because I don't know, sometimes my thoughts tend to compound, like I've said before, and they start to get inspired again, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.